It's like personal documentary now.
I feel it's a very personal documentary. It's an encounter of a close encounter of the third kind.
So I'm here with John. John is documentalist involved in and interested in personal documentary. He made a few personal documentaries about him, and also as I made a film about my parents. So we are personal documentarists, can we say?
Maybe we can say that. I mean, it's sometimes difficult to find the right label. The Americans say sometimes personal docs. In Europe, we might call them essay films.
Essay films?
Essay film. But essay that's a longer, older tradition.
And you are saying first person?
I'm using a slightly different phrase. This idea of first person cinema. I don't even say the word documentary. Not because I'm against documentary. I love documentary, but I think first person cinema is interesting because it covers a very wide field.
What is it? What is personal documentary or personal cinema?
Let's say in that respect that perhaps that's an easy one to answer. That is where the figure, the character of the filmmaker in some form is part of the storytelling. And so their presence, whether it's on screen, actually appearing in front of the camera, like you do in your film,
and you do.
And I do, although I have to say one big difference between us is that I appear in 3 shots, yes. I think, and even then they forced me to do it. But it can also be an authorial voice, the first person.
Berlin, summer 1967. Home movie images I had often seen as a child. But something was missing. Something was missing in me.
I like your film very much. It's
pleased to hear.
And you appear in the special moments and with emotions, you know. And when I started watching your film, I thought it would be an essay without emotions,
okay.
But then emotions appear. And in the beginning, I think it appears in the beginning. We are talking, of course, about the Memories of Berlin film.
Yeah. Well, the film is very controlled in a way. And so emotion is something that builds up gradually. It isn't something that is from there is emotion, but it's a lot to do with controlled emotion and when that emotion is released.
What was the first? The footage you shot from the years, and then you write the screenplay? Or
it's a very good question. I did write a treatment to begin with, and this was when I was still at film school. So to begin with, this started off in a way it could have been a graduation film, but it took a lot longer to create. And also I moved from London to Berlin to start real research on the film. So when I moved to Berlin in summer 1992, I didn't have a script that I was ready to shoot. I had a basic idea that needed to be developed. In fact, that's what happened to me in Berlin over the next years, because it took a longer time to raise the financing. One of the challenges with this film and one of the difficulties was that, of course, ZDF, das kleine Fernsehspiel, who ended up being the major partner on the film, they said, "Where's the script?" And I said, well, I can't write the script until I shoot the film. And of course, that's the wrong way round, because we know that in industrial production, there is a script and that is approved. And then because of the lack of a formal script, the next thing that I did with a film, which was very interesting, was Frank's colleague, Anna. We conducted a very long and intensive almost like a psychoanalysis, you could say. But it was a very long, in-depth discussion where I basically told her all about my childhood and upbringing. I was doing this in German, by the way. And it was on the basis of that. But basically, they gave me the permission to make the film in what everybody agreed was a rather unusual way. And in fact, when we came to shoot the film, we shot the film, by the way, on 16mm. The film was shot over a period of a year, and that was for several reasons, not least to get the change of the seasons, the change of the light, but also because it enabled me to do something which I think is very useful for this kind of filmmaking, which is not to write a script, shoot the film, and then do post-production, but shoot, write, edit, shoot, write, edit, shoot, write, edit, shoot, write, edit. Because I was shooting on 16mm, I didn't have the possibility as we might do now with shooting digitally.
But there are a lot of shots from the past, like from your previous.
Absolutely. So it's a good point. Is that the first thing was the foundation of the film was the archive. The foundation of the film was the past, and the main thread was this 8mm movie, standard 8mm movie of this journey to Berlin in 1967. But in our childhood, this particular film was the film that we always wanted to look at in the years afterwards. It was our favourite home movie. So it's not just a memory of summer 1967, it's a memory of watching the film in 1968, 1969, 1970, 1971. And because the film was mute, it was without any sound, there was this kind of live performance soundtrack of my parents. And they tended to say the same things each time.
I think I had the same experience, but a little bit different, because my memories are connected with also video footage, but with VHS video footage. So there was a sound. I had a lot of material from my father's journey, my father's trips, from all over the Europe. I think we were in Germany, we were in Denmark, and it's interesting that our memories, this is not only our memories, but this is also memories which was like pushed in our mind from the video, from the film,
from the viewing of the film with your parents, because it then becomes a sort of a memory theatre, that you're not just remembering the original journey. Then when this is repeated many times in your childhood, and it is used as I've said, as a sort of a moral, ethical learning tool. This was there, and my parents were, they were brought up in quite a strict way themselves, so they felt that it was important to teach us children what is right and wrong in the world.
When I made the film about my parents, I didn't know who am I, I didn't know who I am, and if I'm more father or if I'm more mother. So we are connected in this film. So do you think that, do you find yourself and your belonging? Did you find?
That's an interesting question. Yes, in some ways, absolutely. That led to a different level of my understanding of myself and where I'm from. I discovered things that I didn't know. If you ask me now, would I do it again, I would say yes. I think it was a difficult journey, but an important one.
Can film be a therapy for an author?
Well, of course, you're talking perhaps about two different things. There's the individual journey of the filmmaker, and maybe the making of the film has a therapeutic effect for them. But there's a secondary question, which I actually find more interesting, which is, if we're not just making films as a private therapy, but as something that takes time and money and effort, and that we share with an audience, I think if my wish would be that the viewer, that my very personal, very private journey gives the viewer a way to take their own journey, perhaps into their own past. So the films that inspired me and in some ways even triggered my own journey, you could say that I had the same wish to create something that was meaningful and emotionally true for people. So whether I'm in Poland or in I've shown the film actually a lot around the world, in Argentina.
If someone who is watching us now, or if someone wants to make a documentary in this style, in personal way, to show himself, to put the camera on himself, so what would you recommend him? How should he start?
That's a real chicken and egg question. Films sometimes the starting point, not just for a film, but a piece of artwork, can be something as basic as a shape, a form, an image, obviously. And it can be something that you keep coming back to. And I think that's where the process of, maybe meditation isn't the right word, but I think you need to be able to access and use those fundamental images and feelings. And these are feelings that you cannot immediately say what it is, but I think you have to be true to your instinct. You have to follow something. The key to everything is this kind of therapeutic opening in front of the camera. And we are, of course, in the age of the selfie, when everything is about me, and us and everything. However, paradoxically, I think that is also a block to honesty. And I think some people absolutely are happy to be on camera and need to be on camera, and they find the process of being on camera where they perform themselves to be therapeutic. They can even find it enjoyable, but that's not for everybody. So at the beginning, I also thought this is going to be much more of a video diary, where I am on screen, I'm talking to the camera, I'm talking about my problems and doing things and everything. That was the fun. So there was a period in Berlin when I was shooting stuff, but I never felt comfortable with that. And so although I was open to it, and in fact I had seen some interesting film experiments in that spirit before, I realized that that was not me. And so I think in filmmaking particularly, we often before we take the right road, you have to take several wrong roads.
What do you think? Is personal documentary or personal cinema or first-person cinema transform into, for example, vlogs or blogs or video YouTube stuff, YouTubers and daily vlogs, like everyday shooting yourself?
Absolutely.
Is it a new part of personal cinema?
Well, I don't know whether we'll call it personal
or it
cinema.
Isn't cinema.
Well, my instinct is to say just that. It's a different medium. It's a different form. I think what's really a challenge, and there are many. You're right. There are many vlogs, and of course, a vlog uses text. It uses audiovisual. It uses sound. It can use animation. It can be very fluid, very experimental. But for me, the discipline of making what I'm calling first-person cinema with a particular form, the short feature of, in my case, 76 minutes long, shooting on film, those limitations were a big help. And I think the open-ended nature of a vlog or a YouTube channel, where you can start off with a great deal of energy and good intentions, but how you maintain that over a long period of time.
How do you like Poland? Is it a place to live for you, like another place, except UK, except Germany?
Well, of course, I'm based back in Berlin, and what I like about Berlin is it's easy to get from Berlin to Łódź. I should say that one of my strong connections to the film school here is that back in 1990, so we're already talking about 25, 26 years ago, I did the workshop of Andrzej Mellin when he came to the film school in the UK. He was, by the way, at that point still speaking Polish. His English was not so good. And I thought he was a fantastic film teacher. But, just coming to Poland, seeing your film, which, of course, I really, really appreciated. It's much funnier than my film, which I really admire. But I think it's a very honest film, and I think emotionally, I think there's something very true about it, and I think you are to be congratulated. I'm not just saying this because we're filming this. I truly, really think the film is a strong achievement, and I think,
Your film also has some jokes.
But you have a higher percentage of jokes, so I need to learn the
It's not me,
Polish.
it's my dad. I
Actually,
think.
you're
Yeah.
right as well. In fact, you're mostly sitting in the frame looking like this, and your dad is making jokes like.
I'm sad person in this film.
Absolutely. But that's perhaps why it works. And I think we identify with you, and we identify with you particularly because you're often not speaking. You're there, and your father is going on about something.
Thank you for the conversation.
My pleasure. Let it continue.
Yeah, to be continued.
To be continued.
Thanks,
Dziękuję.
John. Dziękuję. What words have you learned?
Dziękuję, szkoda, piwo, jest Spanley. I still can't say that one.
Spanley?
It's marvelous. It's wonderful.
Wspaniale.
Spaniale.
You haven't learned it.
I need a new word for today.
Spaniale.
You've got to tell me a new word. What's today's new word?
What's today's new word? Maybe wspomnienia.
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 Memories.
Wspomnienia Berlina.
Wspomnienia Berlina.
Wspomnienia. Wspomnienia. Wspomnienia.
Wspomnienia.
Wspomnienia. Dziękuję.
Proszę.
Dobrze.
Dobrze. Thank you.